Thank you for tuning in to Uncovered Scars with your girl Dorcas P. Are you tired of living in the darkness of your past? Are you ready to walk in your truth? Are you ready to uncover the scars and show the world that healing is possible? If so, you've tuned in to the right place. I am here to help you turn your hurts into healing, your trauma into triumph, and your pain into purpose. I will be providing biblical and practical tools and strategies that will help you uncover the wounds and scars of your past and walk in the abundance of God. So strap in and enjoy the ride. Hello, my loves, and welcome to another episode of Uncovered Scars with your girl, Dorcas P. I am so excited about this episode. I'm so excited. When God gave it to me, I was just like, oh, I can't wait to share this. And so I just want to get right into it. So today's episode is about identity in darkness. Identity in darkness. What do I mean by that? I want you to think about a season in your life where everything was dark. I mean, you felt like you were in the pits of hell. All hell was breaking loose around you. You felt alone. You felt lost. You felt like there was no way out. And I want you to think about who you were going into that and who you were coming out of that season. Now, speaking from experience, my season of darkness led to me being who I am today. When I started the season of darkness, I did not know who I was. I was lost. I was confused. I just felt worthless. Everything you could think bad, I thought about it. And I thought it of myself. I thought I was worthless. I thought I was just put on this earth to just be in pain. So all those things, but in going through my season of darkness and really pressing in and trusting God and not resisting his process, my darkness led to my identity. I know who I am in Christ now. I know who I was born to be. And so that's what it means. That's what it means about when I say identity in darkness. It's how God will use your darkest seasons to birth who you are meant to be in him. And so I really want you to just pay attention and listen to what God is going to speak through me in this episode, because a lot of people right now are searching for who they are in Christ. Why are they here? What is their purpose? What is their identity? And, God has destined each of us to be, certain people and, have certain callings on our lives, certain identities. And so, great things can come out of your darkness, and one of those great things is your identity in God. And so I'm gonna jump right into it, and I want you to really just stay with me on this journey as I navigate this topic, identity in darkness, and really break it down for you. And just to let you know, the nerd in me is gonna come out a little bit in this episode, but hey, I'm a visual person, and I want to make sure that I'm able to explain it so that you will be able to hear it and let it really take root in your soul. So, you ready? Let's get it. So let's go. I want you to think about the diamond. The diamond is one of God's most precious creations. It is unconquerable. I mean, you can't just break a diamond. I mean, it's a diamond. But the identity of a diamond didn't come from a diamond. It didn't start off as a diamond. The beginning of the process of a diamond is a carbon. The carbon is formed in the darkest depths of Earth's core. But beneath the surface, you have this carbon that is deep down in the darkness of the earth. It's not a diamond yet, it's just carbon in the darkness, below the surface, in the depth of the earth. And this carbon goes through the hot molten lava, the pits of hell of a volcano to be deposited on Earth's surface. So you got this carbon in the darkness that goes through the environment of hot heat, pressure. I mean, just, yes, the most uncomfortable atmosphere that you can think of. And you've seen volcanoes erupt on TV, you watch movies. This carbon that is formed in the dark depths of the earth has to go through an environment that is just harsh and hot to be deposited on the surface of the earth as a diamond. So the identity of the diamond comes from the carbon that is in the dark depths of the earth. So the diamond cannot become a diamond without the darkness. The identity of the diamond comes from the darkness. The identity of the diamond comes out of the darkness of the earth. So we have the diamond. Now let's look at the butterfly. The butterfly is another one of God's most beautiful creations. I mean, the butterfly comes in all colors and shapes and sizes. I mean, it's just a butterfly. But the identity of the butterfly didn't start as butterfly. No. The identity of the butterfly comes from the darkness that is a result of the caterpillar just becoming nothing. Let me break that down. You have the caterpillar, and the caterpillar pretty much just becomes this goo, it's goo, to be put it plain and simple. And this dark encapsulated cocoon, this dark shell, the caterpillar melts down to nothing. So the caterpillar in the darkness melts down to goo, and then because of that, how amazing God is, these cells are formed and begin to shape the wings of the butterfly. The color, the characteristics of the butterfly are being formed in the darkness of this cocoon, of this shell that was once a caterpillar. And from that darkness, the identity of the butterfly comes to pass. So the butterfly cannot become the butterfly without the darkness of that shell of the caterpillar, the darkness of the cocoon that came from the caterpillar, the mush and goo that was once a caterpillar that is now in the darkness of this shell that will become a butterfly. You get it? The butterfly comes from darkness. It is developed in the darkness. The diamond is developed in darkness. It starts out in the darkness, the depths of the earth. The butterfly is formed from the darkness that is within the cocoon or the vessel that is being formed in. It's just like a baby being born and being developed in the womb. It's dark in the womb. That's just like back in the olden days before technology. In order to develop a photograph of some of your most memorable moments, you had to go into a dark room. And it was without that dark room, you couldn't develop that picture. So the identity of what you took a snapshot of cannot come to pass without going through the darkness of that room where it's developed. The baby that is birthed from the woman's birth canal is developed in the darkness of the womb. So you have the diamond, you have the butterfly, you have a baby. You have, snapshots of moments in time that you want to remember. All these things are developed in darkness, and they get their identity on the backside of the darkness. And so there is identity in darkness. And I really want you to get that. That's why I wanted to give you these examples, these real life examples, so that I want you to be able to connect the two, your identity and the dark moments in your life, the dark seasons of your life, because out of that darkness can come hope. Out of the darkness comes hope. Out of the darkness can come your identity. But you have to trust the process. So now I want to go a little bit deeper. I want to explore the life of Rachel and Joseph. You can read about them starting in around Genesis 29. Well, Rachel is Joseph's mother. And the story of Rachel, basically, Rachel was the wife of Jacob. And Rachel was barren. Rachel, she could not give birth. She could not have a child. I mean, she couldn't give her husband a namesake. Like, she was in the darkness of her pain of being barren. And I can relate to that. I was once in that season where I struggled to conceive, and thank God, I'm so thankful for my daughter and my son. But I understand how Rachel must have felt in that season where she was like, God, who am I? I can't even give my husband a child. And so in that dark season, Rachel, she just became desperate. She was jealous of her sister Leah, and she lost her mind, so much so that she had her servant to sleep with her husband to have a child on her behalf. And just to stop right there and let you know that sometimes we stay in our dark seasons longer than we need to, it's because we decide to take things in our own hands. And I can only think that, okay, Rachel probably would have conceived the child sooner if her behind hadn't been jealous and told her servant to go sleep with her husband and have a child on her behalf. Bunch of foolishness. But I digress. That was a part of her process. That was a part of her journey. So Rachel became Joseph's mom because of the season of darkness of being barren and being infertile and not being able to produce a child. Because in that process, in that season of darkness, Rachel finally decided to give in to who God really is. And it was in that moment where God showed favor to him, showed favor towards her, and allowed her to give birth to Joseph. And so Rachel's identity as Joseph's mother came from her season of darkness of being barren and not being able to give her husband a child. Now let's go into Joseph. Joseph, he was the first child of Rachel. He had 10 other brothers. And because their dad, Jacob, showed favoritism towards Joseph, his brothers hated his guts. They despised him because he was the golden child. Because the backstory is Rachel was the one that Jacob wanted from the beginning, but her daddy was on some other stuff and gave him Leah, who was popping babies out left and right. But Rachel was the one that Jacob wanted from the beginning. So once Rachel was able to give Jacob a son, that son, which is Joseph, became the golden child. And his brothers hated him so much so that they sold him into slavery. And then he was sold into slavery again, and was, then he found favor in Potiphar's house. But in the midst of being in Potiphar's house, he was lied on because Potiphar's wife shot her shot and he blocked it. And she was mad. So he was thrown into prison, where he stayed into prison. He helped this cupbearer who really just said, bruh, forgot about him when he got out. Like, I don't know. I'm out. He's still in there. I don't care about him. And eventually, It is because of what he did for the cupbearer, he was able to provide he was able to find favor with Pharaoh, who eventually positioned him to oversee the land. And in overseeing the land, he was positioned to be able to provide food to the same brothers who sold him into slavery so that they would not starve and die. So Rachel's identity as Joseph's mom came on the backside of her season of darkness in the form of being barren and not being able to conceive a child and give Jacob a namesake. Joseph's identity as the overseer of the land for Pharaoh, who the king, the head honcho, the one that's at the top, the one who signs the checks, his identity came on the backside of the dark season of being sold by his brothers into slavery, being falsely accused and thrown into jail, being forgotten about by the cupbearer, and eventually finding favor with the Pharaoh and being the one who saved his brothers and the land from dying from starvation. So you see, their identity came out of the dark seasons in their life. There's identity in your darkness, but you have to trust the process. There's identity in your darkness, but you have to trust God's process in that dark season in order for him to give birth to who he has called you to be. So I say all that because I want you to understand that there's purpose in your pain. There's purpose in your darkness. There is identity in your darkness. And all God desires for you is to trust his plan, to trust his process. Because he knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. So he already knows who you are destined to be. Who you are in him, he already knows. And I just want you to really think about that and understand that in the season of darkness that you're currently in, or the season of darkness that may come in the future, God can position you in that darkness to catapult you into another dimension of who you are in him. And I really want you to think about that, because there's purpose. Everything is intentional. God is so intentional. And your darkness is not for GP. It's not just to be there. There's pain. There's pain in your darkness. There's hurt in your darkness. There's you have no direction in your darkness. But I promise you, if you really lean into God and trust his process and his plan in that dark season of your life, what he gives birth to in that darkness is going to be your identity in him. And you'll be able to walk in your identity in that season in your life, because that's who he has called you to be. So trust the process. And in your darkest of times, I just want you to seek God's face like never before, because you can't see your way out. And because you can't see your way out, and God knew who you were before you were born before you were even a twink of thought. He knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. He knew you. So because he knew you and he knows the plans that he had for you, rejoice and really seek his face in your darkness, in those dark seasons, because as a result of your obedience and your love and your thankfulness and your worship and your praise and all of those things in those dark seasons, he's going to reward you with your identity for this next level in your life. So there is purpose to your darkness. There's identity in your darkness. And God wants to position you in your rightful place. Position you in your identity So, my loves, as you're going through your seasons of darkness, as you go through the season of darkness that you're currently in, just remember that your identity can come out of your darkness, but you have to trust the process. You have to trust God, and you have to trust His plan for your life, because He knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. Just like He knew the diamond, just like He knew the butterfly, just like He knew the identity of Rachel and the identity and the purpose of Joseph, He knows the identity and purpose of you. So just lean into God in your season of darkness, because your identity can come out of your darkness. And I leave you with this. You won't always get it right, so give yourself grace. The grace that God gives us when we don't get it right. I love you, and until next time. All right, my loves, thank you for tuning in to another episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and also follow me on all of my social media platforms. Also, if you haven't purchased a copy of my new book, Breaking the Silence, Christianity and Mental Illness, please head over to my website and purchase your copy today. I have placed the link in the description below.